Hello students, welcome to English Classroom. I am Dr. Suchitra Singh, Assistant Professor of English, VGDC, Vidyanagar. Today's session will be on active voice and passive voice for semester 3 prescribed by Osmania University. Now, when you look at this picture, you see that there are two voices, that is active voice and passive voice. In our daily language, we use these two voices, right? So today we will learn about these voices. Now let me start with this example. Say, because I'm a working woman, I will clean the house every Sunday, right? Now the same sentence, I will try to tell it that in a different way, where I will say, the house will be cleaned by me every Sunday. Now, both the sentences are giving me the same meaning, right? So today we will learn about why do we have to tell it in another way when we are saying the same sentence, right? Which is giving the same meaning. Now you have already learned in your previous classes. So you might ask, why should we learn? As I already told you, we all should put a question when we are learning something. What is the purpose? What is the outcome that we will get when we learn this? Why are we learning this? So today, our objective will be to see that you will learn to differentiate at a higher level, right? You have been doing it earlier, but with simple sentences. Now you will learn to differentiate at a higher level the active voice and passive voice. You will be able to identify the voice of the verb in each sentence. You will learn to convert active voice into passive voice and passive voice into active voice. You will also learn to understand where to use active voice and where to use your passive voice. On the whole, you will improve your communication skills. So with this objective in our mind, I will take you for the next few minutes on what is active voice, what is passive voice, where we should use your active voice, where we should use our passive voice, how to identify whether this is an active voice, how to identify whether this sentence is a passive voice, and how to convert making active into passive and passive into active. So let me start again with an example from the text that you have. This says that Americans prefer toasted English, right? Now the same sentence is said in another way, that is toasted English is preferred by the Americans. Both the sentences are giving the same meaning, but the first sentence, that is Americans prefer toasted English, is said is known as is in active voice, whereas toasted English is preferred by Americans is in passive voice, right? Now you might tell me, how can I tell that the first sentence is in active voice, and how is it that the second sentence, how should I know that this is an active voice and that is a passive voice? Now let us again read this sentence. The first sentence, right? Americans prefer toasted English. Now I told you that this is an active voice because the subject, that is the Americans, is doing something. Now who prefer toasted English? Americans. So here the emphasis is on the subject, that is the Americans. So when the emphasis is on the subject, or that is Americans in this sentence, then we call this sentence, we say that this sentence is in active voice. Now let us look at this second sentence. Toasted English is preferred by Americans, right? Now here, what happened here? What is preferred by Americans? Toasted English. Now what are we stressing more on? Toasted English. Now let us go back to the first sentence. Americans prefer toasted English. What are we stressing here? We are stressing here on Americans. Whereas here in the second sentence, we are stressing on toasted English. So this is the object actually. So when you are stressing on the object, then it becomes the passive voice. And when you are stressing on the subject, it becomes the active voice. So is it clear? When the emphasis is on the subject, it is called active voice, and when the emphasis is on the object, it is called passive voice. Let us understand this with a better example, right? Now, in English grammar, voice describes the relationship between verb and the subject. Now, when the subject is the doer of the action, then we call it as active voice. A very clear definition now. When the subject is the doer of the action, then we call it as active voice. For example, the dog chased the cat. Now, who chased the cat? The dog. Now, here, the dog is subject, chased is verb, and the cat is object, right? In the first example, what I said, when the emphasis is on the subject, it is called as an active voice. And here, when the action, when the subject is doer of the action, who is chasing the dog? Who is chasing the cat? The dog. So when he is the doer of the action, then also we can say that it is an active voice. So we should identify, see if the emphasis is on the subject, or otherwise if the subject is the doer of the action, then it is called as active voice. Say, look at this example. The cashier counted the money. Cashier is subject, counted is verb, and money is object. Now, who counted the money? The cashier, right? Whom are we emphasizing on? On the cashier. And who is doing the action? The cashier. So, the emphasis is on the subject. The action is done by the subject. So, this sentence is in active voice. Similarly, passive voice, how should we identify? Now, look at this sentence, right? In passive voice, the subject becomes the passive recipient of the action. Here, the subject is being acted upon. Such a sentence are said to be in passive voice. Now, if you look at this picture, now look at this first picture. In this picture, the dog is doing the main action, right? So, we are emphasizing on the dog. Now, come to the second picture. What? The dog is not so much emphasized, but the cat is emphasized because this is the recipient of the action. Now, in passive voice, what will happen? Your object will become the subject and your subject will become the object. But here, I have written the formula in the reverse way. Now, I wrote that in a passive voice, the object will take the first place and subject will take the second place, right? But this is actually the subject and this will become the object. But for a better understanding, for us not to forget this, right? This is the tip that I'm giving. If you write this formula like this, you will understand it better. So henceforth, throughout my class, I will take, even if we are bringing the object to the subject place, I will write it as object so that we can clearly understand that we have changed the voice, right? So for that convenience, I will use this formula throughout the class, right? So now the subject has become our object has become our subject, helping verb, and our object has become our subject has become taken the place of the object. So the cat was chased by the dog. Who was chased? The cat. The emphasis is on the recipient, not on the doer, right? Similarly, now here we said the cashier counted the money, right? Now in passive voice, what we did, we will bring this money here and we will take this cashier here and we will change our verb. Now look at this. What is the change? The money was counted by the cashier. So the emphasis is on money and not on the cashier. So now is it clear how we can identify our active voice, how we can identify our passive voice, right? Now, most of the time, we use active voice, whether it is in written language or in spoken language. Active voice is the most common type of voice, right? Now, the reasons why we use, right? Now, it is actually generally considered to be a default language, right? Now, why do we use active voice? Let us understand. Active voice is preferable to passive voice because it uses fewer words and states clearly who is performing the action, right? So it states very clearly who is performing the action. Now, let us understand it with a very beautiful example. Say, when I say in this sentence, Raj dropped the glass of milk, right? Who dropped? Raj. Very clear it is. Raj dropped the glass of milk. This is in active voice because we are emphasizing on the subject. But if I have to change this, what is our formula? Our object will come to the subject place. Our subject will go to the object place. The glass of milk was dropped by Raj. Very complex we have made the sentence. The glass of milk was dropped by Raj. Whereas in the first sentence, very simple, straightforward. Raj dropped the glass, right? So active voice is less awkward and clearly states the relationship between subject and action. That is the reason why we use active voice more. Is it clear? Right? So now we will move on. When to use our active voice? Active voice should be used when there is no direct object. That is, direct object is hidden, right? Say, for example, the singer performed for an hour. Definitely has performed before the audience, right? So the singer performed for an hour, or we left immediately after the concert, right? So when there is no direct object, we are going to use our active voice. Secondly, use active voice when the doer of the action is important and known or relevant. When you know who is the doer, then you should use active voice. When you know when the doer is relevant, then we use active voice. For example, look at this very common example that we give. Rama killed Ravana. Now, this we know that the doer, everybody knows who Rama is, right? So when the doer of the action, who killed Rama, he is important, right? So when the doer of the action is important and the doctor saved the patient, relevant. The doctor is relevant. Only a doctor saves a patient, right? So when the doer of the action is important, when the doer of the action is known, and when the doer of the action is relevant, then we are going to use our active voice, right? Now, the next important thing is that when we are making our active voice sentences, for active voice sentences, we should use verb form instead of noun form. This is very, very important, right? When we are changing the word, when we are using active voice, we should use verb form instead of noun form. Now, what is verb form? For example, we should use the word announce instead of make an announcement, right? Announcement is a noun form. Announce is a verb form. Use permitted instead of granted permission, right? So all the time you must use the verb form rather than the noun form, right? Now, the next question that you ask me is, why should we use verb form? Why should we not use noun form? Now, the answer to this is that the use of verbs as replacement for nouns helps the development of simple style of writing. Now, in the previous example, we said Raj dropped the glass of milk instead of saying it in a very complicated way, right? So the use of verb forms as replacement for noun forms help the development of simple style of writing. In other words, replacing nouns with verbs simplifies your writing. So that is the reason why we use verb forms rather than noun forms. Now, you might say how, now let us learn how to change noun forms to verb forms. especially when you're doing your research, sometimes it shows an error and it says use active voice instead of passive voice. There, the verb form has to be changed. So let us learn how to change noun forms to verb forms. I'll give you one small tip. Most of our noun forms, you can identify that if it is SION, MENT, TION, they're all called as noun forms. There are still some more tips, but these are the ones that has now come to my mind that you can identify with them. Say conclusion. Conclusion is a noun form, right? So if you make a sentence with this, the participants could not arrive at a conclusion on anything. Now I want to change this sentence using verb form. So conclusion will change into conclude. And I will say the participants could not conclude anything. Now, which sentence is simpler? The participants could not arrive at a conclusion on anything is simple, or the participants could not conclude anything is simple. Definitely, the second one is simple, right? Now, similarly, translation, TION, it is a noun form. They only made a translation of previous studies. If I want to change this into verb form, translation will become translated. And then the sentence will be, they only translated previous studies. Similarly, discussion. Discussion is a noun form. We held a discussion on an important topic. I want to change this using a verb form. So discussion will become discussed and the sentence will be we discussed an important topic. Just see how simple this is. We discussed an important topic. Then we held a discussion on an important topic. So this is required for us in writing skills. Simple language is required. Say agreement, MENT. This also shows us that it is a noun form. They could not reach an agreement on any issue. I want to change this. So if I have to change this agreement to verb, it will become agree. And the sentence will be, they could not agree on any issue. Proposal. Proposal is also a noun form. If we make a sentence, say, we put forth a proposal for an alternative plan. I want to change it with a verb form. Proposal will become proposed and I will say we proposed an alternative plan, right? So this is how you can change your noun forms to verb forms. Next is investigation. Again, it is with TION, right? It is a noun form. Say the police conducted an investigation into the matter. I want to change it using a verb form. So investigation will change to investigated. Simple sentence. The police investigated the matter. See the first sentence and second sentence. The second is much simpler than the first sentence. Comparison. Buyers should make a comparison between competing products. Now, when I want to change it, I will change comparison to compare. Buyers should compare competing products. So in a simple manner, I change, right? So similarly, you can change analysis, a noun form, into analyze. Objection, which is a noun form, becomes objected in verb form. Decision in noun form will become decided in verb form. So this is how you can change noun forms to verb forms. Is it clear? Now, how to change active voice to passive voice. Now we will learn how to change active voice to passive voice. Now switching voice is an important skill. Now we know that we should use verb forms, right? When we are using active voice. Now we also know how we make active voice sentences. How to change active voice to passive voice. So switching voice is an important skill with academically, professionally, and personally. So changing sentence from active voice to passive voice, remember the meaning does not change. The meaning should be the same. Only thing is that the emphasis will change from subject to object. So first point, remember the meaning will not change. Second point, remember Only there is a change in the emphasis, that is subject to object. Is it clear? Then to change sentence to passive voice, we need to identify in which tense the sentence is. Remember, we should not change the tense also. Only the form we can change, but the tense, if it is in positive present tense, it should be in present tense. If it is in past tense, it should be in past tense. If it is in future tense, it should be in future tense. Only the form will change. So the meaning should not change, the tense should not change, only the emphasis should change, right? Now secondly, when you want to change, you should identify in the sentence which is subject, which is verb, and which is object. For example, Rama killed Ravana. Rama is subject, killed is verb, and Ravana is object. So we should know this. Then, when you are changing active voice to passive voice, make the object of the active voice sentence as the subject. It will reverse. Right? Your object will become the subject. See, object will come here and subject will go here. Now, actually this is subject. As I told you earlier, I'm using this formula because it will become easier for us to understand. So, replace the active verb with a matching passive verb. Now, what we did over here, Rama killed Ravana. Now Ravana will come here, Rama will go here, and whatever changes we have to make with the verb, we will make. And what is it that we made? Ravana was killed, and then there is an agent, that is by. By is added by Rama. So our formula is object plus helping verb plus by plus subject. When you change it, right? When you change subject, verb, object will come first and subject will go next. See, even in this picture you see, rat was eaten by lion, right? So this way you can change. Now let us do some exercises that are there in the textbook. So please keep your pen and paper ready. Take this sentence and then I'll also give you the answers, but you try, right? Now take down this sentence. Hari ate 6 puris at dinner. This is an active voice. Now we are going to convert this to passive voice. Hari ate 6 puris at dinner. Now what you have to do? First you have to identify subject, verb, and object. Which is the subject? Hari is the subject, ate is the verb, and puris is the object. So now what we will do? Object will come first and subject will go last, and make the necessary changes with your verb. Now you do it. Right? If you have done, please check your answer. See, 6 puris were eaten by Hari at dinner. Simply, we brought the object to the subject place and we took the subject to the object place, and eaten, we made it as were eaten. Right? So this is how we convert our active voice to passive voice. Let us do the second sentence. My friend has completed the work. My friend is your subject, right? Take down this. My friend has completed the work. My friend is your subject, right? Has is your verb, and work is your, completed the work is your object. Now you are going to change it. What you are going to do? Bring your object here, take your subject here, and make the necessary changes with the verb. Right. Now if you have done, let us check the answer. The work has been completed by my friend. See, we made a necessary change. We brought our object here, we brought our subject here. And with the verb, what did we do? Here, look at this. Here, the verb is has completed. Now, when it has been changed, it changed into has been completed. So, the necessary changes, what has to be done, we made it over here. Now, similarly, let us do the next one. Take down this. Sunita changed the bedsheet. Now first we will identify. Sunita is our subject, changed is our verb, and bedsheet is our object. Now what we will do? We will bring object to subject place, we will take subject to object place, and we will change the necessary changes with the verb. Do it. Now, if you have finished doing, let us see the answer. The bed sheet was changed by Sunita. See, object has come to subject place, subject has gone to object place, and we made the necessary changes with the verb. Now, let us do some more. Look at this example. Sarah ran the hurdle race in record time. Now, what we have to do? Identify. Subject is Sarah, ran is verb, hurdle race is object. Right? Now, what we have to do? Bring the object here, take the subject here, make the changes with the verb. Now, if you have done, we'll check it with our answer. The hurdle race was run by Sarah in record time. Remember, we have to have by in our passive voice, right? We have to have by in our passive voice, right? Say next one. My mom painted the picture in one day. Now we are going to a complex sentences. How we have to change? My mom painted the picture in one day. Now identify. My mom is your subject, painted is your verb, and picture is your object. Now change it. Bring your object this side, bring your subject this side, make necessary changes with your verb, and then you have to have your agent by. Now check your answer. See, the picture was painted by my mom in one day. So object plus helping verb plus main verb plus by plus subject. Right? Now let us look at another sentence. The students wrote a brilliant review. Now why we are doing from simple sentence, we are going to a little complex sentence, so that we should learn how to change them, right? The students wrote a brilliant review. The students is subject, wrote is verb, a brilliant review is object. So we will take object to the subject place, subject to the object place, make necessary changes with the verb, and have our agent by. Now check your answer, right? Now when you check your answer, a brilliant review was written by the students. So object has come to subject place, subject has gone to object place. We have made necessary changes with our verb, and with our agent by, we have framed a passive voice, right? Now, let us look at this, a little more complicated sentence. Take down this sentence. Thousands of tourists view the Taj Mahal every year. Thousands of tourists view the Taj Mahal every year. Now, which is our subject? Thousands of tourists. Which is our verb? View. Which is our object? Taj Mahal. Right? So, what we have to do? Taj Mahal should come here and thousands of tourists should go here. Make the necessary changes. Now, check your answer. The Taj Mahal is viewed by thousands of tourists. Right? The Taj Mahal is viewed by thousands of tourists. Right? Now, object, helping verb, main verb, by plus subject. Is it clear? Now let us look at the other sentence. The Indian team will play the game tomorrow. Which is the subject? The Indian team. Will play is your verb and the game is our object. Right? Now we have to change, reverse it. Object will come here, subject will go here. Change the make the changes with the verb, with your agent by. Now check your answer. What is your answer? The game will be played by, right? The game will be played by the Indian team tomorrow, right? So what you are doing? You are trying to have your object, you bought it here, you bought your subject here, helping verb, main verb, by with by, right? Now, one more sentence we will do. The manager will give you your job. Little complicated, right? The manager is our subject, will give is your verb, and you is your object, right? The manager will give you your job. Now, how will we change this? Your object should come here, subject should go there. Necessary changes with by. So, your job will be given to you by the manager. See how we have changed, right? So, it is nothing but object will come over here, right? And subject will come in the last. You'll change your necessary changes with the verb, and with by you will add it. Is it clear? So this way we will change our active voice into passive voice. Is it clear now how to change? We have gone from simpler sentences to complex sentences. Now, next we will learn is, now as you said, if we are going to use more in writing and speaking active voice, why should we have passive voice? When to use passive voice? Use passive voice when the agent of the action, that is doer, is unknown, irrelevant or implied, right? For example, the Indian team for the World Cup has been announced. Who announced is implied, right? It is not necessary, right? We understand. So when this is implied, then when the agent of the action, the doer, is not known in the sentence, then we will use passive voice. Many countries were affected by the virus. Or say the sentence, the thief has been arrested. Now we know that definitely that it is the police, right? But it is not showing over here. When the doer is not shown up, right? But it is implied or understood, then or is unknown. In such cases, we will use our passive voice. Now, passive voice is used also when you want to make your sentence be very soft. So look at this sentence. The bill has not been paid. I want to tell my son that the bill has not been paid. Now, this is in a passive voice. In an active voice, if I want to say, you have not paid the bill, sometimes this can offend the other person, right? So to make it more softer, we will use the passive voice where I'll say, beta, the bill has not been paid. So I'm using a passive voice not to offend him. So sometimes to be a little softer in our tone, we can use passive voice, right? And we also use passive voice to avoid taking the blame. For example, a mistake was made, I will say. Instead of saying we made a mistake, instead of acknowledging that we made a mistake, we'll just say a mistake was made in a passive voice. So to avoid also, we use passive voice, right? Now, when to use passive voice again? Passive voice is also used in scientific and official letters where the doer is not unimportant or irrelevant, right? So there also we use our passive voice. Now I'll give you an example to understand more clearly when we should use our passive voice. So look at this sentence. Two youngsters were arrested yesterday for rash driving. Now who arrested it? The doer is not there. We know that the police has arrested. The agent is implied. So in most of the cases where the agent is implied, right, it is understood, we use our passive voice, right? Now, when should we not use passive voice? Do not use passive voice when the sentence has an intransitive verb. Now, very clear. Don't get confused. I said when the object is not visible, not important, then you can use passive voice. But when there is no object at all, then you cannot use your passive voice. For example, say the boy was sleeping. There is no object. So when there is no object, in all the intransitive verbs do not have objects. So when there is no object, do not use your helping verb. So that is where you should remember that you should not use your helping verb when there is no object, right? So in this sentence, there is no object. That is why we are not using our helping verb, right? Now, next is that do not we should not use our helping verb if when the object is a clause, right? For example, look at this example. The example is they wanted us to stay another week. Us to stay another week is a clause. So when it is a clause, also you should not use your passive voice, right? So what, how should you change? Now next is, we have learned when to use, when not to use. Now how to change passive voice into active voice. Earlier we have learned how to change active voice into passive voice. Now we will see how to change passive voice into active voice. To change passive voice into active voice, find the agent and make the agent of the sentence into the subject. That is, find which is the object, right, on whom the action is being performed. Find that and make your object into subject and change the verb accordingly, right? Now, for example, we will do some exercises for a better understanding, right? Say a refresher course will be attended by the faculty every year. This is a passive voice sentence. Now, a refresher course is our object. Helping verb will be attended and faculty is our subject, right? So you should first identify this. And now, if you want to change, what you should do? Subject should be brought first, object should be taken back, and make the necessary changes. So write down this. A refresher course will be attended by the faculty every year. Now we have identified which is the object, which is the helping verb, which is the by agent, which is the subject. Now you will bring the subject to the first place, object to the last place, change the verb, remove by. Now let us check with your answer. See, the faculty will attend a refresher course every year. The subject, the faculty is brought here, will attend a refresher course every year. So this is our answer. Let us do one more sentence. An application for the new job was sent by her. An application is your subject, object, job sent by her is your subject, right? And by her is your subject and sent is your helping verb. Now we have to switch the places. Subject has to come first, object has to go last, and remove the by agent and make the necessary changes. So let us check the answer. She sent an application for the new job. Subject plus verb plus object. So if you keep this formula and work, you will be able to do it well. Now let us look at another sentence. A beautiful picture was painted by Tony. Beautiful picture is the subject. Was painted is the helping verb and main verb. And Tony is the subject. Now what we will do? We will bring Tony to the first place. We will bring picture to the second place. Make the necessary changes with the verb and remove the by. Let us check with our answer. Tony painted a beautiful picture. Subject plus verb plus object. So I think this is clear. Now let us do a little complicated one. That song has been sung really sweetly by the choir. Right? That song has been sung really sweetly by the choir. Now object will come. Now this is our subject, right? Now I have made a mistake. So just the thing is, this is our subject. Now our subject should come here and our object should go there. Now make the necessary changes, remove the agent by. Let us check with the answer. The choir really sang that song sweetly, right? Now, next is this, very important. By whom were you asked to write? Now, always remember, by whom, when you convert it into active voice, will become who, right? And your answer will be who asked you to write. Clear? Now let us look at this one more sentence. The wildlife was destroyed by the forest, right? Fire. We have to change it into passive voice. The forest fire destroyed the wildlife, right? Now, similarly, we have these sentences. Say, Sam donated money to the orphanage, right? In a passive voice, what it was? Money was donated by Sam to the orphanage, right? Now look at the sentence. The experiment was conducted by the science teacher. Now we have to make it into active voice. What will our answer be? The science teacher conducted the experiment, right? Now, one last one we'll try to do. All the arrangements will be made by the event manager, right? Now, when we change it, bring your subject here, bring your object here, remove your uh, remove your uh, remove your by agent, and then make a sentence. Now, let us check with the answer. The event manager will make the arrangements. That is subject plus verb plus object. So we have learned how to convert our passive voice into active voice. When we are converting our passive voice into active voice, the roles are reversed. Again, the subject will come back, right? Object will go last. Helping verb or main verb, whatever changes you have to make with the verb, you'll make the changes and remove the agent by, right? A very simple rule we will use. So what is active voice? Active voice is more used in our language professionally, academically, and personally. And active voice is more helps us to write simple language, to speak simple language, right? Now, while making our active voice, we have to change our noun form verbs into verb forms, right? We have to use verb forms. So we have learned how to change our noun forms into verb forms. And then when you are changing your active voice to passive voice, your subject will go last, your object will come first, right? Similarly, passive voice to active voice, you will reverse the role. So we'll use the formula and we will make the necessary changes. And when should we use our active voice? We have learned when should we use our active voice, right? When the doer is important. When the action of the doer is important, right? And passive voice, when the doer is not that important or hidden or implied, we use our passive voice. We should not use our passive voice in interrogative sentence. We should not use our passive voice when there is no object, no direct object. Do not use our passive voice. So each has its own place. It does not mean that because we use more of active voice, passive voice is not important. So today we have learned what is active voice, we have learned what is passive voice, we have learned when to use our active voice, when to use our passive voice. I hope I have made it very clear. Try to do the exercises that are left out, and if you have any doubts, you can ask me in the group. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Don't go out. Don't venture out. Only when necessary, go out. Use your masks. Don't remove your mask when you're in public, and maintain your distance, right? Thank you very much once again.